5.3 is still using absolute value. So we're still going to have like two equations, one for positive, one for negative kind of thing. But these ones have inequalities, which makes it a little tricky, okay? But like I said, there's rules, and I'm going to teach you the rules. You just have to make sure you know the rules, okay? So we are going to start with solving absolute values with inequalities with a less than sign, okay? When there is a less than sign, we're going to think that it's an inequality. So we have a couple different types of inequalities. So we've already decided that we have no solution inequality, or no solution. And we also have something called infinite or all solutions, all real numbers. We aren't going to do any of those, okay? So for 5.3, with inequalities of absolute values, we're going to have and statements, and we're going to have or statements, okay? And statements always go with less than, okay? Or statements go with greater than, okay? So when you look at each problem you're given with the inequality, we're going to look at it and say, okay, is this a less than sign or a greater than sign? If it's less than, then we do and, so we have these rules. If it's greater than, then we do or, so we have these rules. Cool? So if we look at number 1, the first thing we're going to notice is less than sign. Less than means we're doing and. Okay? So it really only becomes important when we're writing our answer, whether we have an and statement or an or statement. Up until then, we're going to do pretty much the same process. All right? So we are going to first make sure we isolate our our absolute value. Okay? Is our absolute value isolated in this one? Yes. Yes, it's all by itself. It's absolute value x plus 4, right? So I'm going to write 1 positive 10. So I have x plus 4 less than 10.
So you just get rid of this.
Yep. And then I have and in the middle.
Hey, I'm not sure. Wait, what does and stand for again?
It's going to be how we write our answer.
Oh, okay. So
Okay.
we just write and.
Mm-hmm. And then watch before you write for the second one. We're going to do x plus 4 greater than negative 10. So not only do we switch and do one positive, one negative, like we were doing with our equal signs,
So it's blank or blank?
but we also flip our inequality.
So when you shift, you flip.
Mm-hmm.
As we shift.
Quality. So we write one equation normal. Then we write and. Then we write our second equation, we flip it, and we make it negative. So now 2 rules, okay? Instead of just one positive, one negative, and flip. Okay, so now that we have our setup, from here, we just solve. So I'm going to solve this one on the left. I'm going to subtract 4, so x is less than 6. And then subtract 4. Now I'm subtracting from negative 10. So this is going to be x is greater than what? Negative 14. Yes. So now this is where the and comes in. When we are doing and less than statements, we are going to write our answers together. Do you guys remember the rules when we were writing inequalities with domain and range where it was 2 numbers, x in the middle, less than signs always?
Yes.
Okay, same thing goes here. Now, the only thing you have to be careful of is that when we write inequalities with 2 numbers, we always go from least to greatest. So I'm not going to write 6 and then negative 14, okay? I'm going to do negative 14, x in the middle, 6. And then I'm going to put my less than signs in between. So when it's an and statement, we write it together. And we use those rules from last unit.
What's the point of flipping?
So here's another and. It's an and because I have a less than sign. Less than means and. Okay. And so my first step is going to be to isolate my absolute value. This one is not isolated. So I'm going to add my 5. And I have absolute value of 2x minus 3 is less than or equal to 11.
And write the 11 and
Yep, so now I have my absolute value isolated. So I'm going to do one with a positive 11, one with a negative 11. So I have 2x minus 3 is less than or equal to 11. And then I have and 2x minus 3. I flip my sign, so now I'm going to have greater than or equal to, and I make it a negative 11. So we flip and make negative. So now we will solve. So we will add 3.
Wait, so you do numbers first, not variables?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I got wrong.
Yes, numbers first. So we get x is less than or equal to 7 for the first one. $11, 10, 9, 8. So negative 8. And we get negative 4. So we have 7 and negative 4. This is an and statement, so we write our answers together in order from least to greatest. So negative 4 goes first, x in the middle, 7 goes last. And then we do less than equal, less than equal. Now, a little difference that you might have noticed between numbers 1 and number 2 is that number 1, my answer did not have the equal to signs. And the reason why is because the original question did not have equal to signs. Do you see how the original x plus 4 is less than 10? It had no equals to. Versus in number 2, it was less than or equal to. So I just carried that through with my final answer. Now we are going to talk about when we have greater than signs and we have or statements. I think of it as greater, like greater than signs, greater. I just spell it wrong. Put an or. Greater. So when it's a greater than sign, it's or. So with number 1, I look at my symbol and I see that I have a greater than sign. And now I'm going to isolate my variable, or isolate my absolute value. So I have that plus 7 afterwards. How do I move it? Minus. So the absolute value of 3x plus 2 greater than 5?
Yeah. And then do you do the flip and switch?
Not yet. Yes. Well, we'll write a normal and then a flip and switch. Okay. So we get here, we're isolated. We're keeping with the same protocol. We write one positive, one flip and switch. So we have 3x plus 2 is greater than 5. Instead of and, we have or, and then 3x plus 2 less than negative 5. So we still flip and switch. Now we're going to keep solving. So we're going to subtract 2. We have 3x greater than 3. Divide by 3. So x is greater than 1. And then same thing on the other side. Same solving. And this time it's negative 7. Divide by 3. We are allowed to have fractions here, so we just have negative 7 over 3. Now here's where the difference is between and or. With or statements, we have separate answers. Separate answers. So instead of writing them together, we literally just box are two separate answers. And this is why it's important to make sure you do that flip and switch, because when it's an or statement, we're not writing always less than signs. We're writing what it actually is. And so you have to make sure you flip it for that second one, or else you get points off.
That's it.
Yeah. So this one, we have a greater than sign. So
The sign whenever you're dividing.
yes, you still do that. Yeah. Now with this one, we don't have to because it's not negative. We would only flip if it's a negative. If we divide by
So it's
negative.
only negative.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yes, that does. Let's see. Do we do that? Yeah, we will do that in the last one. We do. So we will do one like that. So let's move the 4. I have 3, absolute value to x, greater than or equal to 6. And then divide by 3, absolute value to x, greater than or equal to 2. Now, same rules apply here. If you get a negative 2, it would be no solution.
What if you get a -3? Is that no solution?
What number are you working on? Number 3?
The second one.
I didn't get a -3 over 2. I divided by 3. But like if I had 2x is greater than or equal to -2, if I have a negative answer, still no solution.
I don't know how to divide. That's the issue.
It's okay. So this is an or statement. Are we focused? Are we listening? Okay. So we're gonna have 2x is greater than or equal to 2, or 2x is less than or equal to. So we flip our sign and flip our negative. So 2x is less than or equal to -2. We solve like normal. So what is the only step I need to do here? Divide by 2. And then same thing over here. And since this is an or statement, we keep our answers separate. So these are just my answers. So let's solve number 3. So we are going to look at our sign first. So what kind of sign do I have? Less than or greater than? Less than. So it's and. Okay. So am I going to write my answers together or separately? Together. Now first I'm going to isolate my absolute value. Okay. So I have -10, -10. Negative absolute value to x minus 1 is less than, what, -5?
Yeah.
What is this negative actually? What's it? It's an invisible -1. How do I get rid of it? Divide by -1. Now, when I divide by negative numbers, what happens to my,
Sign flips.
good, my sign flips. So instead of it being a less than sign, it's now going to be a greater than sign.
And it still doesn't change the inside.
It does not change the inside.
And then you
But, is this still an and statement?
yeah. Yes.
No.
It's not.
It is now a greater than sign.
Alrighty.
When I'm all the way by itself, it is now a greater than sign. So blah, 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 no longer less than.
Yeah, but doesn't that happen to all of them?
No, because we only flip when we, so when we're isolating the absolute value, getting it by itself, That's only going to flip if we divide by a negative. We haven't done that yet.
Okay.
Now, what you're thinking of is when we split, we have a positive and a negative and it switches. But it switches for a different reason, not for this reason.
So the first equation you do is the only thing that determines if it's and or greater than.
Yes, and or. Yes.
That's right.
Yes. Because then once we're done, we're going to be switching things anyways, regardless of whether it's and or. But just take a moment. Whenever you divide by a negative, that should be like a little alarm in your head that says, oh, when I divide by a negative, I'm going to flip my sign. That means it's not going to be whatever I originally thought it was as far as and or goes. Okay? Now, luckily, that doesn't change my process. I still have 2x minus 1 is greater than 5. But now I have or 2x minus 1 is less than negative 5. So, yes, ma'am. So we solve like normal.
We get a negative 2 on the other side, so is one of them no solution?
No, you can have a negative 2 as your answer. It just can't be here.
As your answer. No one hear that? Is that just me? What? You? Oh, no, I hear that.
Okay, this is now an or statement. So am I going to write my answer together or leave it separate?
Separate.
Leave it separate. So I have x is greater than 3 and x is less than 2.